Hello again, everybody. Tiberius here, welcoming you to another episode of Tibs Talks. I'm Tibs. I talk about things. Today we are talking about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which just wrapped up its first season a few days ago. If you have not seen the show yet, here is your disclaimer. I'm going to talk in great detail about a lot of things that happen throughout the show. Some people like to call that spoilers, but I mean, it's really just like a recap and an analysis of the show and the whole season. So there's 10 episodes. You should go to the Paramount Plus network and watch them. If you don't have the network, find somebody who does, get their password, go watch the show. My overall assessment of the show is going to give it a very high grade. I'm going to give it an A. I wanted to give it an A plus. I had to calm myself down. I had to, you know, dissect it a little bit, and there was one area that I had to take a couple of points off, just a couple of points, and it brought it down to an A. Fantastic show. Stop watching this. Go watch Strange New Worlds if you haven't. Then come back here and then share your thoughts and feedback about, listen to what I have to say. Let me know what you thought of the show, too. Yeah, like I said, love the show. So here you go. Okay, so everybody who's here should have watched the show. I'm not going to do some Wheaton-esque, red alert thing, whatever like that. But the Ready Room, also on Paramount Plus, is also another fantastic little companion piece to each episode. Kind of in that same format that we have like Talking Dead to go about, where Chris Hardwick talks to the actors and things like that about the Walking Dead episode and kind of breaks it down and recaps it. The Ready Room does the same thing for the Star Trek shows on the Paramount Plus network. And Wheaton's done a pretty good job this season with the Strange New World cast and actors, and even with the crew and the prop departments and the costumes. And so there's a lot of in-depth analysis and stuff you can get from that. I agree with a lot of what he has to say. He does fanboy a lot for, someone who is an actor and who is someone who was in Star Trek for 5 seasons, 4.5 seasons. He fanboys a lot in it. More than you would think he would, more than you think a host would of a show like this, which is nice and it's endearing, and occasionally it's a little too much. You got to dial it back, Will, and remember, like, come on, man. Like, I know you love Star Trek, now at least. I feel like there was a point in time where you didn't so much, but you love it again, and that's great, and that's awesome, and we're glad to have you back on board. But that is a great companion piece. All that's to say, it's a good companion piece. So watch the episode, watch the Ready Room reaction, watch each episode, and then watch the Ready Room. I know it does take a little longer that way, but I feel like it really adds to the overall experience and the enjoyment, listening to the actors talk about the episodes as you kind of watch them and experience them, to then go get that immediate recap right after it. I am going to use Wikipedia here just for a little bit of the episode guide, so I kind of remember how things sort of start off. If I have to refer to any actors' names, I'm sorry I don't know all of you yet. You're not quite household names, at least not in my household, maybe in some other ones. But hopefully you'll get there, because they already picked up the show for Season 2. Season 2, they're already filming. That's how off to a great start this show has been. This show, so if you watched my first episode of this series, I talked about the Obi-Wan show. Very disappointing. Gave it like a C rating. Strange New Worlds is to Star Trek what I had hoped the Obi-Wan series was going to be to Star Wars. It's kind of like what The Mandalorian was for Star Wars, where it was a way to incorporate existing legacy characters with new characters and tell very classically written and very stylistic stories. Strange New Worlds returns to that format of each episode has a problem and they solve it and then move on. And next week, there's a new problem, a new mission, a new planet, a new race, something new going on. And it's not just one big 10-episode story. Each one has its own little subplot. Now, some of the themes with the characters carry over. Some of the experiences and the relationships the characters have with each other develop, the way they interact with each other. Certain experiences, the way they learn from each other. Something that happened on a mission in episode 3 or 4, might change the way two characters interact with each other in episode 7 or 8. So there is continuity there from week to week, like we've seen in other Star Trek shows, Next Generation, original series, of course. But Next Generation, Deep Space Nine kind of followed that. Voyager followed that aspect of it. Enterprise as well, and then they kind of got away from that when they kind of relaunched Star Trek programming with like Discovery and even Lower Decks to some extent. There's a little more longer story arcs in those shows. Definitely Discovery. Like the whole season is just like one big story. But we got back to that original format, and I think it fits so well here. And I love what they did with it. The cast themselves do a fantastic job bringing these characters to life. There's characters that we know. We know Spock. We know Uhura. We've seen them in Star Trek for years. Pike, we've seen before in 2 different iterations. Original series, very briefly, 1 episode, a pilot that really didn't go anywhere, and then recycled footage in an episode that happened later. The Cage, the Menagerie, those 2 episodes that they reused the footage and kind of went and told like a flashback story to introduce this Pike character. And our Strange New Worlds Pike character is sort of mirroring that aspect of it, that this is his fate. He's going to end up sort of having this tragedy happen to him. Because of the events of Discovery, he's aware of it, because Pike and Spock were introduced to us in Season 2 of Discovery. You don't need to watch Discovery to really pick up the show and understand it. They kind of give you a nice little flashback explanation at the very beginning of the first episode. Very brief explanation of what's going on, why only certain people can kind of talk about it. You can read the synopsis on like Wikipedia or something of the episodes of Discovery Season 2 if you want, instead of having to watch the whole season. I'm not a fan of Discovery personally. Didn't really like it. Couldn't really get into it. Hate what they did with the Klingons. Very curious to see how they introduce the Klingons in Strange New Worlds. Obviously they're not going to be, the Klingons we've seen in the TOS, which really, there was very little makeup going on there. It was really more costumes and like a big eyebrow, forehead ridge. Next Generation, we saw them with a few more ridges and a little more fleshed out. And those were kind of the Klingons that we knew from multiple seasons, multiple shows, 15 years between Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and Enterprise. And even B'Elanna Torres on Voyager, so I guess we'll add on a few more years then. So now we're over 20 years of seeing Klingons look a very specific way. And when Discovery kind of changed that, just to change it, wasn't a fan of it, and it kind of rubbed me the wrong way and got me off on the wrong foot to the show. And I don't know that I ever really recovered from that, personally. I think it kind of just dragged itself out. But if you want to just jump right in to Strange New Worlds, you absolutely can. The cast. We've got Pike. We've got Spock. We get some characters that we're familiar with from the original series. Nurse Christine Chapel, Dr. Mbenga, characters that were very briefly shown. Nurse Chapel was in a few more episodes. Not really much of a main. She was just a sort of supporting character. She was in a couple episodes a season of the original series. I feel like it didn't hurt that she was played by Majel Barrett, who was married to Gene Roddenberry. So he gave his wife some work. But then we get, Uhura is here, a character, of course, that we know. But then we get some characters that we don't know. La'an, Noonien, and Singh, new character. Erica Ortegas, new character. Uh, Hemmer, chief engineer, new character. Number one, Una Chin Riley, also played by Majel Barrett in the original pilot. She was the first officer. That pilot did not get picked up. They restructured the show. They got rid of Pike as captain. They brought in Kirk as captain. The rest is kind of history after that. So we didn't really get to see much of Una. Again, we kind of don't know too much about her. So they had a little bit to sort of play around with the name and do whatever they wanted with the character. And then Rebecca Romaine does a wonderful job with that. Of kind of, the writers did a good job of giving her a good backstory to it, and Rebecca carries that out. She has this secret identity. She is, spoiler, genetically modified. That's not allowed in Starfleet. We know what that from the Khan situation, which ties in with La'an, Noonien Singh, a distant relative of Khan. So to see that get pulled in a little bit there, we haven't, we don't know where he is in this universe. This is, a good 7 or 8 years before, 5 to 7 years, we'll say, is kind of the timeline they've given us. Before Kirk is in the chair, and then before he's going to find the Botany Bay floating in space and unfreeze Khan, who's been lost. So the fact that we're getting a character who carries the name and knows of the history of the eugenic wars on Earth and the chaos that it caused, and who the chief principal architect of that was, is a nice little Easter egg that maybe we will get to explore further as the series progresses. And Mbenga as well, again, didn't really get fleshed out very much in any original materials, so again, we get to play around with his story a little bit. And these actors do a wonderful job of that. They really do a wonderful job of trying to act true to the character's personality, but not replicating what another actor has done. They're not just trying to be a carbon copy of what somebody else has done. They're really just sort of doing their own interpretation, I guess would be the best way to describe it. So kudos to them on the work that they did. The show itself, awesome. The ship looks great. The hallways of the ship and everything like that, great lighting, great sets that they work from. Absolutely fantastic as far as that go. Let's see. So we got some episodes. Let's see if we flesh this out a little bit. Strange New World Season 1. Bam. Oh, make that bigger? Nope. It's not going to let me make it bigger. Oh, well. 10 episodes. That's it. You got 10 episodes. And that's all she wrote for Season 1. Nice introduction right here. We also get T'Pring, a character, Spock's fiance. Character briefly in a classic episode, Amok Time from the original series. You may also remember the parody of it in The Cable Guy, where you've got Jim Carrey and Matthew Broderick dueling at a medieval times restaurant while he's Jim Carrey's humming the theme, at him and screeching and screaming at him while he's reenacting this fight scene. Which is the only episode we saw really T'Pring in the original series. So to have T'Pring also come in and be able to develop that character a little bit more, it's a nice addition. We like fleshing out this universe a little bit more. Some of these characters that we've heard of, and we get an introduction to that in episode 1. We get some other wonderful I don't want to say very sci-fi genre episodes, where we have that history of these like space type horror movies like Alien, Event Horizon, that kind of stuff, where there's people in space trapped on a ship, so they can't run and go anywhere really, um, and strange things happen to them, and it's dark and it's scary to a little bit, and they bring that into this season, and they do that through a character from the original series that they've completely revamped that we didn't really get to see much of. We really didn't get to see any of, and that's through the species the Gorn. Big spoilers coming here. If you haven't seen the show, here's your last warning. So, original series, that's the Gorn. That's what they look like. Guy in a rubber suit, slowly walking, chasing after Kirk. And poorly chasing after Kirk. To the fact that Kirk is like stopping and picking up rocks and like throwing them at him. And then they bounce off the rubber suit and he pretends to like fall over. It was the 60s. It was low budget. They did the best they could. And now the Gorn look like this. Kind of creepy. A little bit more terrifying and menacing. This is like one part alien, one part predator, one part Jurassic Park dinosaur. Velociraptor. That's the one I was thinking of. The way they move on all fours, like velociraptors kind of do, but they can come up when they need to, on their hind legs. The alien in Alien 3, where they're in that crappy prison, he moves very animal-like, scurrying around. And then their vision is more heat vision oriented, as we see in a couple of the episodes where the Gorn are featured. You get that predator vibe where it's that heat vision. That's another way to describe it. That's really what it is. It's when you're looking through this, the army guys are looking through the scope and they're looking at the heat signatures of the people moving around. That's what it looks like. Same thing from Predator. That's kind of how the guy looks and how he sees. So, awesome. I mean, obviously you had to do something different. You weren't just going to do this again. We knew that. But when they're not really revealed the first time we meet the Gorn and they fight against the Gorn, it isn't until later in the season where we get to see them up close and personal. And yeah, they kind of really do that sci-fi horror genre proud with what they nail here. It's this episode here where we're first kind of introduced to the idea of the Gorn in episode 4, but we never see them on screen. We see their ships, we see them doing things, we hear flashbacks because La'an has a personal story related to the Gorn and her experiences as a child, but we never really see them on screen in this episode. It isn't until episode 9 where they come back, and then we really get that sci-fi horror aspect going, and kudos to the team who put this together for doing a great job with that. I mentioned Amok Time with Kirk and Spock fighting and that being recreated. We get sort of a recreation of that, in a way, of Spock Amok. Where Spock and T'Pring are kind of trying to do some things related to their relationship, and they do a body swap. Freaky Friday style, holding on to the thing, So we kind of get this weird parallel now where they have to see things through each other's eyes. And that's another little weird throwback. Again, probably the writers talking about things that they liked. We've seen Freaky Friday, and it's been rebooted at least once. And even other shows like Community and things have done the body switching, episodes. And I think there was a movie with Ryan Reynolds and Jason Bateman where they kind of do the same thing. So to see Spock and T'Pring doing a mind meld and screw things up and switch consciousness, was a nice little touch, and I really enjoyed that as well. Here's where I'm going to knock them just a little bit. Just a little bit. This is where they lost points. The Elysian Kingdom. There are aspects of this episode that I like. I like that it's fun. I like that they're telling a creative little story. I like that all the actors are playing uh, different, completely different characters. Um, Essentially, what's happened, to recap this one real quick, this is the one where an alien life form is basically reached into one of the members of the crew, the doctor and his daughter. He reads this story to his daughter. It's a bedtime story, fairy tale story. You know, the good princess, the evil queen, that whole kind of thing, sword fighting, that kind of stuff. And basically turns the ship in a way into this little kingdom. Like there's trees and vines and stuff growing on the hallway of the actual starship. So it's not like they're on a hollow deck where it's just all, the mystery land, or it's not like Q has teleported, the Next Generation cast to Sherwood Forest to be Robin Hood. This is, the ship is still there. They're still moving around the ship into the different rooms using the different scanners and things. But they're wearing, very medieval garments and acting in sort of this fairy tale princess kind of way. Like the episode, but it gives a little bit of character development. It gives a little bit of fun and lightheartedness, but it's a filler episode. Like I mentioned with like the Sherwood Forest, Next Generation, or things like that, where characters go into the holodeck and they have these adventure things. These are good character development episodes, but they're mostly filler episodes. And when you have a 26 episode season, you have to do one or two of these a season in order to just fit some ideas and some stuff in. You kind of got to stretch it out, right? This is a 10 episode season. With just 10 episodes, do we really need one of them focused on basically a bit of a filler episode? And the answer to me was no. If if this was a longer season, if it was 14, 16 episodes, yeah, okay. Elysian Kingdom fits in just fine. We're doing some character development. We're having a lightheartedness. We're having a little bit of fun with the cast. Great. But with only 10 episodes to work from, that's where it failed for me. So, a little bit of a letdown there. Serene Squall, good episode. We get a little bit of a space pirate kind of thing going on, which we've seen in a number of other versions, different series with Star Trek with space pirates. Space pirates always manage to somehow sneak aboard or get on board or infiltrate, the character's ship and cause some antics, try and steal the thing. We saw this a couple times with the Enterprise D. We saw it with Voyager, where they got stranded and they lost the ship at the end of season 1. They actually had their, Voyager actually got stolen from them. So to see another throwback with space pirates, very happy with that being incorporated into the show again. And then we get our last episode, the season finale. I almost said series finale. Definitely not a series finale. Season finale. Episode 10. This episode was just fantastic. I would give it 101 if I was scoring just this episode. It's better than a perfect episode. It really kind of hit home on so many different levels. We're seeing sort of that Pike gets a vision of the future, where he knows what's going to happen to him. He's going to end up that crippled guy in that chair. And he gets an opportunity, because he has that information, to sort of change his fate here. And then he gets an opportunity from his future self coming back to sort of, It's a Wonderful Life, show him how his future will play out if he makes the choice that he's about to make. And it fast forwards a number of years into the future, where the Federation first encounters the Romulans, and it almost is, some of the scenes are actually a shot-for-shot remake of an original series episode, which I think was titled Balance of Terror, where the Federation encounters the Romulans for like the first time after not seeing them in like 100 years. And, a Romulan ship shows up and is attacking Federation bases along the neutral zone. Kirk and the Enterprise go to intercept them, and, their struggle sort of plays out against each other, this unseen foe, and how they, they fight, they resolve it. Kirk ends up destroying the Romulan ship, and because of those actions, the relationship between the Federation and the Romulan Empire kind of stays a certain way. In this particular episode, in this new future, because Pike doesn't get injured, Pike is still in the captain's chair on the Enterprise when these events happen. So now it's Pike making his decisions about how he's going to handle this Romulan ship. And Pike obviously has a more reserved diplomatic style than Kirk's cowboy, kind of style, going guns blazing. And that sort of gives the Romulans the impression that the Federation isn't really the enemy up to the challenge that they think they are, and they'd probably be a bit of an easier target if they did want to pursue further hostilities. It kind of inspires them to want to fight more because of how diplomatic and passive Pike is in that alternate future, which leads to a huge war later on. And a number of the episode's scenes and sequences are identical. The way characters move, the way they sit in certain chairs, the way the lighting is with shadowing in certain spots on Pike's face is exactly the same way it was on Kirk's face. Incredibly well done by everybody involved in the project. And definitely a season finale worthy episode. Some season finales are kind of lackluster in terms of they're just sort of just riding off into the sunset like on a high note. This one really just overwhelms you with just how much they managed to fit into one episode. Oh yeah, and we get to meet this Strange New Worlds iteration of James T. Kirk, who shows up in this future timeline because he's captain on a different starship that helps Pike, and the two of them have a couple meetings and have some conflict between them about which strategy would be the best way to handle this situation. But Pike ultimately wins out because, he's the captain of the Enterprise. So, absolutely fantastic Season 1. Congratulations to everybody involved with the project. So excited that they already greenlit and they're already filming Season 2, so hopefully we get that very early in 2023. That would be awesome. Not have to wait. It came out in May. It was 10 episodes, May through July. It would be great if we got it in like January, Season 2. I know we got Lower Decks coming back soon for Season 3, and then Picard Season 3, so probably not. We'll probably have to wait until a bit for Season 2 of Strange New Worlds. Probably air at the same time. Maybe we'll get more episodes in Season 2. Maybe they'll realize, like, hey, this thing is really friggin' good. Let's give people more than 10 episodes. Let's give them 12. Let's give them 14. That would be awesome. But that's my take. Leave comments down below. Let me know what you thought of Strange New Worlds. Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you think certain things that they did were just, disrespectful to the original characters? You don't like what they did to, I hate the way they make Spock do this, or, why does Uhura have to do this? I don't know. I loved it all. I thought it was great. But I'm sure there's people out there who have different opinions, and I would love to hear those. Maybe I'll think about something in a way I didn't think about it before. Just like I hope this video has helped you think about something in this show that maybe you didn't think about before. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great night. Take care.